What up, what up, what up? Hey, everybody, hope you're doing well. Hey, I just want to let you know, I know everybody can't always support and donate to the podcast, but hey, if you can do a one-time donation, I put up a Buy Me a Coffee link in this description of the podcast. So if you go to the description of the podcast, it'll be at the bottom, and you can just go to that link and you can buy me a cup of coffee, or two if you want. And that would just help support the show, and I can wake up a little bit more and bring you more info. So thanks for listening to the podcast. If you can donate, that would be much appreciated. And let's get on to the show. What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, some of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO, legend, and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully you guys are doing excellent and taking care of yourself. So what are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about the real alien hunters. Yes, 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 the real alien hunters. Well, what does that mean? It means that we're going to focus on the people who actually hunt down aliens. It's been known that aliens have been shot down in places like the UK Joint Air Force Base. They've been shot down in Roswell, New Mexico. But actually, the aliens themselves, if they've escaped, there are individuals of Special Forces, of Air Force, Office of Special Investigations, as Richard Doty's going to talk about. And, well, I'm going to talk about what he talks about. And there's other people that are called PJs. And these PJs are basically like military police, but they're alien police. Okay, so it's like the MIB, basically, right? It's like exactly what Will Smith did in Men in Black 1 when he put the smackdown. See what I did there? The smackdown on the alien. So the PJs within the Air Force Office of Special Investigations were Special Project, and they were a separate branch of the Office of Special Investigations. So they had certain policies, certain procedures. They had access to special access programs, especially anything that was highly classified. And they needed to know this information so they could do their job. So they needed to know a lot. Not necessarily everything, but a good chunk. So they knew about counterintelligence, counterespionage, and espionage areas. Now, how do they help and support these programs? So they would go out, they would conduct investigations. They'd also conduct disinformation. They would also protect highly sensitive operations. Now, what's interesting is that they would also employ certain individuals in the area to make sure that none of the individuals of Area 51, as well as the contractors who worked at Area 51, who didn't work for the government but worked as a contractor and worked for these contracted companies, didn't go out on the town and tell anybody about it. Now, did they do that? They hired they had every prostitute in the Nye County area, which is where Area 51 is at, on their payroll. Now, that's not me saying that. That's Richard Doty saying that. He said they had all of them on their payroll. Now, why would they do that? Because these lonely contractors needed somebody to sleep with and entertain them while they were working in these contracts that might be 6 months to a year. Now, what's interesting is that they did have a few contractors go out, sleep with these girls, and then confide in them that, hey, guess what? I'm working on this massive laser ray, or I'm working on this large communication device. Now, what happened, Richard Doty talks about this, is that one of these guys actually did disseminate this information. There was a project that they were working on where they found in a crash site this box that would allow this alien species to communicate from Earth all the way back to their planet. Talk about long distance dialing. I wonder how much that costs per minute. I guarantee you it's not the cheap rate of $3.99, but from back in the 80s. So especially if it's a late night conversation, you know what I'm saying? So these guys would hire these girls, or at least keep them on the payroll. And if somebody said something, they would tell them, and they did. And they tracked down who it was. And then when they tracked down the guy who actually divulged the information, they fired his ass. They fired him, and they paid the girl. Now, what's interesting is that they were able to put the kibosh on the information to the girl by just saying, "Hey, guess what? That story was BS. These guys just try to make stuff up all the time, trying to impress you girls." And the girl actually told them that, yeah, no, that makes sense. These guys come in here all the time trying to impress me, and they brushed it off. So apparently they didn't use some flash ray like they did in MIB. They would just kind of convince them that these guys were just trying to show off, and that's exactly the case. So what else would these alien hunters do? They would go to locations of alien crashes, of UFO crashes when they shot them down. They would gather the technology. They would bring them back to Air Force Office of Special Investigations areas or Area 51, where they would reverse engineer the stuff. Now, this is not stuff that's brand new information. I don't like talking about it because I like talking about new stuff. But what's interesting is they always had to try to keep all this stuff out of the public eye, okay? So if there was any information, if there was any threat, anybody potentially saying something, they had to go out and silence them. Now, where do these projects come from? Well, they came from DARPA. A lot of these projects came from DARPA and then were assigned to these contracted agencies, like these companies, right? Like Northrop Grumman or, all these other ones, where if anything bad happened, there was no paper trail, right? It was the paper trail was on the onus of the contractors. So yeah, they did some reverse engineering and development, but that's not the point. The point is that a lot of these contractors got information. They had to keep control of these guys. They had to keep strict control. So they would split up the projects, divide them out, piecemeal them out, give them one piece of information, and then give them a second piece of information, and then separate that out, and then put it all back together. So OSI had a lot of information, a lot. And when they had this info, they had to keep it secret. So like when the UAPs came out, they continued. They were the ones that came out with that UAP. Change it from UFO to UAP. Why? To confuse us, to keep us off our game. Stop investigating, to make it just seem like it's just a phenomena. But the ETs actually, there was one instance, one event where the ETs wanted some special information from one particular individual. This individual was a military police officer. What happened was, and this is part of these PJs, is what they did an investigation on. These guys investigated this individual. The individual stated that while he was on patrol, the aliens came and telepathically asked him to go outside of the base, do a walk around. Then they asked him about how many nuclear warheads they had on the base. Mentally, they asked him through telepathy. Now it's interesting, right, that they would ask this telepathically. Wouldn't they just have some sensors? If they could fly from light years away, couldn't they just ask or just use their technology to figure out what it is? They could, sure. But let's keep going. Let's hold off on that. So, what the ETs did was they kept asking him, how many warheads do you have on base? He wouldn't answer. Then they pretended and put this into his head that he was strapped to a table, which he wasn't. He was on base, but they pretended and made him think he was strapped to a table and he couldn't get off until he gave up the information. Finally, he freaked out enough and gave up the information. He said, I know we have 46 bunkers. I don't know how many warheads we have. And then they left him alone. And he found his rifle and his handgun tossed to the side farther away from him. Now, what's interesting is going back to why would they ask and not just use their detection equipment. They're a high-tech, civilization. They should be able to detect how many nuclear warheads we have. So the thought process with this particular event, according to Doty, is that it was probably the Russians or probably some other foreign nation that got into this guy's head, kind of like how Gary McKinnon got into the NASA network, they were just trying to access anybody's brain and found the one that had the easiest password to get into and then manipulate him into giving up secret information, which would typically be the military police guys because, I mean, they're not at the highest level of intelligence, but they do know what's on base, right? So they might be easier to access. They might have less protection on them psychically than some general or colonel or major, right? Some officer. So they go for the lower ranking, maybe a private or private first class, or I should say airman for the Air Force, airman or airman first class. Just trying to find this information. So what's going on? What's going on? We don't know on that particular scenario, but we do know that he got infiltrated. They did question him. He had no clue what the hell was going on. And what's interesting is after he was getting, kind of reacclimated to his life or life on Earth, he told these guys who were interrogating him. He said, "Man, my brain still feels like it's in a maze. Like there's a maze in my head, and it's trying to get out. Like my thought processes are trying to get out of this maze that they put into my head. So it's almost like they put him into like a what you call it, like a what's that movie, Inception? Like multiple layers of different consciousnesses while he was in this particular position. So these PJs, these alien hunters, they have to do these investigations. They have to find out if it was an alien species that did this, or whether it was another threat on Earth. And then if it's an alien threat, then they have to go through the proper channels, make sure that politically we're going through and talking this out, seeing what the next step is. Do we do a psychic attack? Do we engage with another alien species that's the enemy of this alien species that's attacking us psychically? What do we do? What do we do in this scenario? So they come up with battle plans. They come up with battle plans. If it's not just some escaped alien out of Area 51, maybe they have to present this information. They have to do the interrogation. Maybe they assist in the battle plan. Maybe they assist in the interrogation of individuals out in the real world. And what's interesting? It makes me think about this is like when we think about like the Men in Black, right? We think about like the quote unquote Men in Black that still show up to like different areas of investigation. And they all look the same with the black hat, black coat, everything. No facial hair. I almost think that it's a mental shape shifting guise that get that it's just a ruse, like some sort of transmogrifier that these guys are just like probably wearing like in reality probably wearing like Hawaiian shirts or something, but but when we see them even on camera they look like the same person with the same outfit. I really doubt that we're sending out guys that look exactly the same. I mean, we're just sending out drones that can't be picked up on facial recognition software. I mean, it seems weird, but I mean, I guess stranger things are possible. It's definitely a TV show, so it's definitely possible. So that's really interesting to me. Some of these stories about these guys who go out and do the police work, do the investigations and find out more information. What else do we know about it? Well, that'll be probably for another time, as this is the information as we know it currently. But if there's anything else, pops up, you be sure I'm willing to share it, and I will share it. So, what'd you think? You think these PJs, these guys, why do they call them PJs? I don't even know. But you think they're interesting folks? You think that they're real MIB, or you think they're just an investigative branch? Nowhere in Richard Doty's story did he state that they wear, a black trench coat or a black top hat. No, they don't do that. They're out there investigating and sometimes creating a story, creating disinformation. So, if you get visited by the MIB, you never know if it's an alien species or if it's, the Men in Black or our guys or the PJs. So, Anyway, something to chew on, something to think about. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. Of course, it's super important to take care of yourselves. Take a day off, take a couple days off, take a week off. Just enjoy some you time. And sometimes that's just rest, recuperation. That's a lot. A lot of people need that right now. And maybe just read a book. Get a little bit of an escape. Tell you, bookstores are a great place to go get some research done and just chill out and relax. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys are continuing to follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams. Continue to take care of yourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally. And as always, continue to question the universe around you. Until next time, guys, take care. Locked On Universe out.